Hi everyone, Sheree here. Today I'm going to create a layout as a part of the International Scrapbook Day Felicity Jane blog bingo challenge, and I've chosen a line on the bingo card that has 5 items that I need to include on this page. So I've got these items here. So the line that I've chosen off the bingo card says I need to include some twine or ribbon, so I've got those there, that little pom-pom trim and some twine from my stash. I need to include wood, so I've got the wood pieces from the Henley kit. They're really cute, so I want to put those on the page. I also have to use a punch on this page, so I've grabbed my really old circle punch out of my stash. I think this is 1 3/4 inches, and I've punched out a whole heap of circles from different papers from Felicity Jane from various kits, and I've just simply cut them in half, and I plan to do a little scallop sort of pattern on my page using those pieces, but you'll see that as I get to creating my page. I also need to use 2 alphas, so I've got the Reagan chipboard alpha set there and the white Essentials puffy alphabet, and I also need to use stamps as my 5th item, so I've chosen the Love Note set. So I'll get started and show you how I'm going to create this page. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've cut some white cardstock down to about 11 by 11 inches, and I've backed that with some black and white diagonal striped paper, and I've added a border of machine stitching as well. And what I'm doing now is I'm just tearing the sides of a piece of vellum from my stash, and that's going to be placed right in the middle of the page. So I've just used a little bit of tape runner on the back of that, and even though you can slightly see it through the vellum, that will be covered up a little later with the photo, so it's not a problem. Okay, so I've got those half circles, and what I want to do is form a little scalloped pattern across the bottom half of this vellum. So I'm just playing with the positioning of that, and then I will get my double-sided tape. It's really thin double-sided tape that I'm using. I've put a line across. I'm just sticking the bottom of that vellum down as well. So I've got a line of double-sided tape there, and that will allow me to stick those half circles across the vellum. Make sure they're nice and straight. And what I'll do is also add a row of stitching to each scalloped row, and that'll help to add some extra texture to the page. So just using my T-square rule to make sure they're nice and straight. And I'm also just going to play around with positioning to make sure I've got enough room for my photo at the top there as well. So just trying to mix up those colours and patterns. Okay, so you get a bit of an idea of how it's going to look, but there you go, I've done 2 rows now, and you can see the stitching that I've added across there. So I thought I'd do another one and show you the entire process for this row. So this one's going to have 3 little half circles. So trying to line them up onto the double-sided tape, but also with the row underneath it as well. Again, making sure they're nice and straight, and then I'll grab my sewing machine and I'll add a row of stitching. Sorry, my camera's just trying to focus there. It doesn't like it when I bring my sewing machine onto the desk. Alright, so I'm just adding that little row of stitching now. Okay, so that one's now done, and I just pull the threads through to the front of the page. I haven't trimmed these threads off yet, but you can see there how it's coming along. Alright, so I've done all the rows now. I think there was about 5 rows all up, and I can bend those, the bottom of the circles up there, and that'll really help to create a little bit more dimension and texture to the page. So now I'm working on the top half, and I decided I needed a bit more colour behind that vellum, so I grabbed some blue paper and tucked it in behind. And now I'll grab my sewing machine again and add another row of stitching across the top of that. So I always seem to go back and forth at the beginning of the stitched row and then again at the end. And that just allows me to trim off the threads, and then I don't have to worry about tying any knots or anything. and I always like to pull the threads through to the front as well. So now I do go ahead and trim off all those other threads too. I leave a little bit of length on them because I just like the look of it on the page. Alright, so now I'm going to add my photo, and I also needed to use twine on the page as part of the challenge. So I've got the twine on that tag there, and that'll be some hidden journaling that I'll get Madison to write later on. I've got my 2 different alphas that I'll use as part of my title. So they'll be going next to the photo. What I'm doing now is just adding double-sided tape down each side of the photo so that I'm still able to slip that tag in behind. Alright, so that can now easily slide in and out. And now I can add those alpha stickers. Now that one is the Reagan chipboard alpha. And then I've also got those white puffy stickers as well. Now I didn't have any more W's. Now I needed 2 W's for the name Willow. So I've just used an M, turned it upside down, and I've just stretched the very top out a little bit to make more of a W shape. So that was really handy. I also did it at the end of the word as well. Alright, so I also needed to use wood on the page as part of the challenge. So I've used the wooden ampersand from the Henley kit, and that's forming part of my title. And then I've got 2 other wood pieces to use on the page as well to sort of form a visual triangle, which you'll see me add very shortly. First of all, I'm just using my long arm stapler to add a couple of staples to the top left of the photo. And I'm just looking for that other wood piece. And now this one says lovable, and I'm adding that just to the bottom left of that photo. And then I've got that little heart die cut, which I think was from the Zoe kit. So I've just tucked that in behind there as well. I've got that other little wood piece, that little heart. I'm going to add that to the bottom row of scalloped pieces there, but I haven't stuck it down just yet because I want to do some stamping, which is another thing that I had to include on the page. So I'm just getting rid of an extra piece of vellum. It was just hanging down a little bit too low, and I want to put some stamping there, so I had to remove that piece. So I'm using the Love Note stamp set, and I've chosen the phrase hugs and kisses, and then there's an actual row of kisses and hugs which I'm going to put underneath the phrase. So I'm just putting it onto my clear block there. Now I'm going to do a test stamp first because I haven't used this particular stamp, and it also allows me to see if the stamp is nice and straight on the block as well. So I just made a little adjustment there. And now I can go directly onto my page. So just trying to move that vellum out of the way. Okay, and now I can go ahead with that second stamp down below. Just doing a little test, making sure it's nice and straight. And on it goes. And for the third stamp, I've decided to use You and Me, which is also in this stamp set, just on the side there. And I'll be stamping that down the left-hand side of that photo. So again, just do a little test, and then I can add it to the page. So just turn my page a little bit, and there it is. Okay, so I also needed to add the date, of course. So I did have a little boo-boo with this. The year I had as 2016 instead of 2018. So all I did was grab a black pen off my desk, and I'm just going to fill in that 6 to make it into an 8. And you can really barely notice that there was a mistake in the first place. So I was quite happy with that. It was an easy fix. Okay, so I thought I'd add a little bit more texture with some messy threads. So just grab my thread there, grabbing a little bundle of it, and I'm going to tuck that in underneath that die cut. And then I'm going to rough up the edges of my cardstock as well. Oh, I almost forgot. I had to stick that little heart piece down, so that's going on. There we go. And now I can rough up those edges of the cardstock, and also a little piece on that blue next to the photo as well. I'll just put a little tear in that too. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing how this page has come together. I'd love it if you'd join in this challenge. If you're watching this video this International Scrapbooking Day weekend, check out the inspiration page at Felicity Jane. I'll pop a link down below, and I hope you join in. It'll be fun to see what you all come up with. So if you've got any questions, let me know down below, and I'll leave you with some close-up photos at the end. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back again really soon with more to share.